When 7-year-old Emma accidentally threw her ball into HOA President Margaret's garden, she expected a simple apology would fix everything. She never imagined she'd be forced to drink an entire bottle of perfume as punishment. What Margaret didn't know was that Emma's father was a senior FBI agent. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching. Also like and subscribe for more stories. My name is Sarah Martinez, and I thought moving to Maplewood Gardens would give my family the fresh start we desperately needed. After my husband Jake's promotion to senior FBI agent, we finally had enough money to buy a house in what seemed like the perfect neighborhood. Tree-lined streets, well-maintained lawns, and a community pool that my 7-year-old daughter Emma couldn't stop talking about. But perfect neighborhoods sometimes hide the darkest secrets. Jake was away on a classified mission when it happened. 3 weeks into our new life, I was still unpacking boxes and trying to make our house feel like home. Emma had made friends with the neighbor kids, and for the first time in months, I saw her genuinely smile. She'd been through so much already. The divorce from her biological father, the custody battles, and finally finding stability with Jake, who loved her like his own daughter. That Tuesday morning started like any other. Emma was getting ready for school, her backpack stuffed with art supplies for a project about butterflies. She was so excited to show her teacher the beautiful drawings she'd made of monarch butterflies migrating. "Mommy, can I walk to school today?" Emma asked, her big brown eyes sparkling with excitement. Jessica said her mom lets her walk and we could go together. I hesitated. The school was only 4 blocks away, and the neighborhood seemed safe enough. "Okay, sweetheart, but you walk straight to school and straight home. No detours, no playing in the park on the way back." Emma nodded eagerly, grabbed her backpack and gave me a kiss goodbye. I watched from the window as she met Jessica at the corner, both girls chatting excitedly as they walked away. I should have trusted my instincts. I should have driven her to school that day. At 3:45 p.m., I was waiting on the front porch for Emma to come home. The school day ended at 3:30, and it was only a 10-minute walk. By 4 o'clock I was worried. By 4:15 I was panicking. I grabbed my keys and started walking toward the school, my heart pounding with each step. That's when I saw them, a small crowd gathered near the community playground, about halfway between our house and the school. As I got closer, I heard Emma's voice, high and frightened. "Please, I just want to go home. I didn't mean to do anything wrong." I pushed through the small group of onlookers and saw a sight that made my blood run cold. Emma was standing in the middle of the playground, tears streaming down her face, holding a small bottle of perfume. Facing her was Margaret Wellington, the HOA president, a woman in her 50s with perfectly styled gray hair and a permanent scowl. Margaret was pointing an accusatory finger at my daughter. "You deliberately threw that ball into my garden and destroyed my prize-winning roses. Do you have any idea how much work I put into those flowers?" "I'm sorry," Emma sobbed. "It was an accident. Jessica and I were just playing and the ball went over the fence." I said I was sorry. "Sorry isn't enough." Margaret's voice was sharp and cruel. "You children think you can just destroy other people's property and get away with it? Well, not in my neighborhood." I stepped forward, my protective instincts kicking in. "Emma, honey, what's going on?" Margaret turned to me with a look of disdain. "Are you this child's mother? Do you have any idea what she's done?" "I heard something about a ball and some flowers," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "But nothing that would justify yelling at a 7-year-old child. Your daughter destroyed my prize-winning roses." Margaret's voice rose to a near shriek. "And now she's going to learn that actions have consequences." That's when I noticed what Emma was holding, a small bottle of expensive perfume. "Since your daughter seems to love destroying beautiful things, she's going to drink this entire bottle of perfume. Maybe then she'll understand the value of what she's destroyed." The world seemed to stop spinning. "Excuse me? You want my daughter to drink perfume?" "She's going to drink every last drop," Margaret said firmly. "And you're going to watch." Emma was shaking now, clutching the perfume bottle like it was a poisonous snake. "Mommy, I don't want to drink it. It smells bad and it'll make me sick." My heart was breaking. My little girl was being terrorized by this woman, and there was a crowd of adults just standing there watching it happen. "Please," I begged Margaret. "She's just a child. She said she was sorry about the flowers. I'll pay for any damages, I'll replace the roses, whatever you want. Just please don't make her drink that." Margaret's expression didn't soften one bit. Money won't bring back 3 years of careful cultivation. She needs to learn that her actions have consequences. Drink it, child. Now. "But it's poisonous," Emma whispered, looking at the bottle with terror in her eyes. "It's just perfume," Margaret said dismissively. "It won't kill you. It'll just make you very sick, and maybe next time you'll think twice before destroying other people's property. I tried to push past Margaret again, but she grabbed my arm with surprising strength. If you interfere, I'll call the police and have you arrested. The HOA has full authority here. Emma looked at me with those big trusting eyes. Mommy, what do I do? I felt helpless. Completely, utterly helpless. My daughter was being forced to drink poison, and I couldn't do anything to stop it. I'm calling the police, I said, pulling out my phone. Go ahead, Margaret said smugly. Officer Davidson is on the HOA board. He'll be on my side. Emma was shaking so hard she could barely hold the bottle. Please, Mrs. Wellington, I promise I'll never play near your garden again. Please don't make me drink this. You should have thought of that before you destroyed my roses, Margaret said coldly. Now drink it or I'll call Child Protective Services. The threat hit me like a physical blow. Emma looked at me one more time and I saw her make the decision. My brave, innocent little girl was going to sacrifice herself. Okay, Emma whispered. I'll drink it. Emma opened the bottle with trembling hands. The smell of the perfume was overwhelming. She brought the bottle to her lips and took a small sip. Immediately she started coughing and gagging. It tastes horrible. It's burning my mouth. More? Margaret demanded. All of it. Emma took another sip and this time she started crying harder. Mommy, it hurts. It's burning my throat. I was crying too, watching my daughter slowly poison herself because of this monster's twisted sense of justice. Please stop, I begged. Look at her. She's in pain. Good, Margaret said with satisfaction. Maybe now she'll remember not to destroy other people's property. Emma took another drink and then another. With each sip she got sicker. After she had consumed about half the bottle, she suddenly doubled over and vomited violently. She's had enough, I said, trying to break free from Margaret's grip. She's going to be seriously ill. She's not done yet, Margaret said firmly. The whole bottle. But Emma couldn't stand up straight anymore. She was swaying on her feet, still clutching the perfume bottle. Mommy, I feel really sick. Everything is spinning. That's when I realized this had gone beyond punishment. This was attempted murder. Emma? I screamed as my daughter collapsed to the ground, the perfume bottle rolling away from her limp hands. Emma was unconscious and I finally broke free from Margaret's grip. I ran to my daughter and knelt beside her, checking her pulse, trying to wake her up. Emma, baby, wake up. Please wake up. Her breathing was shallow and her lips were tinged with blue. The perfume had poisoned her system, and she needed medical attention immediately. I called 911 while cradling Emma's head in my lap. I need an ambulance at Maplewood Gardens playground. My 7-year-old daughter has been forced to drink perfume and she's unconscious. Stay on the line. The ambulance is on the way. Margaret was trying to leave, but I called out to her. Where do you think you're going? You just poisoned my daughter. I didn't poison anyone, Margaret said defensively. I administered appropriate discipline for property damage. The ambulance arrived within minutes, and the paramedics immediately began working on Emma. They checked her vitals, started in 4, and prepared her for transport. What did she ingest? The lead paramedic asked. About half a bottle of perfume, I said. She was forced to drink it. The paramedic's expression darkened. Forced? By whom? I pointed at Margaret. By her. The HOA president. She said it was punishment for property damage. Lady, perfume contains ethanol and other toxic compounds. This child could have serious organ damage. What you did is chemical poisoning. Margaret's face went pale. I didn't know it was that dangerous. Ignorance isn't an excuse for poisoning a child, the paramedic said sharply. As they loaded Emma into the ambulance, she was still unconscious but stable. I climbed in beside her, holding her small hand. It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. Daddy will be home soon, and we're going to make sure this never happens again. The emergency room was a blur of doctors, nurses, and medical equipment. Emma was rushed into treatment while I filled out forms and answered questions. Dr. Peterson, the attending physician, explained Emma's condition. The perfume she ingested contains several toxic substances. We're monitoring her liver and kidney function, and we've given her activated charcoal to help absorb any remaining toxins. Will she be okay? I asked. Children are remarkably resilient, Dr. Peterson said. The amount she consumed was significant, but not necessarily fatal. However, there could be some lasting effects, stomach problems, liver damage, or neurological issues. I spent the night beside Emma's hospital bed, watching her sleep and thinking about everything that had led to this moment. Around 3 a.m., Emma finally woke up. Her voice was hoarse and weak, but she was alert. "Mommy? Where are we?" "We're in the hospital, sweetheart. You got very sick from that perfume." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, Mommy. I'm sorry I broke Mrs. Wellington's flowers. My heart broke all over again." "Baby, you have nothing to be sorry for. What Mrs. Wellington did to you was wrong. Very, very wrong." "Is Daddy coming home?" Emma asked. "I called him and he's on his way." I had reached Jake at his hotel in Washington, D.C. When I told him what had happened, he immediately arranged to fly home. His exact words were, "I'm going to destroy that woman." Jake arrived at the hospital at 6 a.m., still wearing his federal agent suit. When he saw Emma lying in that hospital bed, connected to monitors and 4 lines, his face went through a transformation I had never seen before. "Tell me exactly what happened," he said, his voice deadly quiet. I told him everything. With each detail, Jake's expression grew darker. "She forced a 7-year-old to drink perfume," he said, trying to process it. Emma stirred and opened her eyes. "Daddy?" Jake's entire demeanor changed as he approached the bed. "Hey, princess. How are you feeling?" "My tummy hurts and my throat is sore," Emma said. "But I'm glad you're here." "I'm here and I'm not going anywhere," Jake said, kissing her forehead. "And the person who hurt you is going to pay for what she did." Dr. Peterson came in for morning rounds. Emma's liver function was showing some stress, but it was within acceptable ranges. Her kidney function was normal. "She'll need to stay another day for observation," Dr. Peterson said. "But I'm optimistic about her recovery." "Have you reported this to the authorities?" Dr. Peterson asked. "The police took a statement last night," I said. "But the HOA president said one of the officers is on the HOA board." Jake's eyes narrowed. "Which officer?" "Someone named Davidson," I said. "I'll handle that," Jake said grimly. "And I'll handle Margaret Wellington too." While Emma slept, Jake made some phone calls. As a senior FBI agent, he had resources that most people didn't have access to. "I need to take emergency family leave," he told his boss. "Someone poisoned my daughter and the local police might be compromised." Within hours, Jake had mobilized an investigation that would make Margaret Wellington wish she had never heard of Emma Martinez. First, he called the district attorney's office directly. He explained the situation to DA Patricia Collins, who was horrified. "She forced a 7-year-old to drink perfume?" DA Collins repeated. "That's aggravated child abuse, chemical poisoning, and potentially attempted murder." Jake also called Child Protective Services to report Margaret's behavior with other children in the neighborhood. "If she did this to Emma," he told the CPS investigator, "she's probably done similar things to other kids." But Jake's most effective move was calling his contacts at the FBI's white-collar crime division. "We've been getting reports about HOA corruption for months," Agent Martinez told Jake. "This might be the case we need to bring the whole thing down." Word of what happened to Emma spread quickly through the neighborhood. Our hospital room was filled with flowers, cards, and visits from neighbors who were appalled by Margaret's actions. Jessica's mom, Linda, was one of the first to visit. She was crying when she saw Emma. "I'm so sorry," she said. "I should have intervened. I should have stopped her." "You were scared," Emma said. "Mrs. Wellington is scary when she's angry." Linda looked at me with tears in her eyes. "She's done things like this before. She made Tommy Henderson stand in the sun for 2 hours because his bike was on the sidewalk. She forced the Miller twins to pull weeds until their fingers were bleeding." "Why didn't anyone report her?" I asked. "She has so much power in the community," Linda said. "She controls the HOA, she has connections with the police, and she threatens people with fines and legal action. We were all afraid of her." More neighbors came forward with similar stories. Margaret Wellington had been terrorizing children in the neighborhood for years, and everyone had been too scared to stop her. The investigation into Margaret Wellington moved quickly. Within 48 hours, Jake had uncovered a pattern of abuse that went far beyond forcing Emma to drink perfume. The FBI's Financial Crimes Unit discovered that Margaret had been embezzling money from the HOA for years. She had been using community funds to pay for her own home improvements and personal expenses. The rose garden that Emma had allegedly damaged? It had been paid for with stolen HOA money. Child Protective Services found evidence of her abusing at least 6 other children in the neighborhood over the past 3 years. The incidents ranged from forced labor to psychological abuse to physical punishment. The district attorney's office brought charges of aggravated child abuse, chemical poisoning, embezzlement, and racketeering. Officer Davidson, the corrupt cop who was on the HOA board, was also arrested for obstruction of justice and conspiracy. He had been covering up Margaret's crimes for years in exchange for kickbacks. The local news picked up the story and it quickly went national. HOA president forces child to drink perfume became a headline that shocked the country. Margaret Wellington's trial became a media sensation. The prosecution presented evidence of her years of abuse, embezzlement, and corruption. Emma had to testify, which was one of the hardest things I had ever watched. She was so small in that witness chair, but she spoke clearly and bravely. She told me I had to drink the perfume because I broke her flowers, Emma said. I told her I was sorry, but she said sorry wasn't enough. She said I had to drink all of it. The prosecutor was gentle but thorough. How did the perfume taste, Emma? It was horrible, Emma said. It burned my mouth and my throat. It made me feel sick and dizzy. Did you want to drink it? No, Emma said. I was scared. I knew it would make me sick, but Mrs. Wellington said I had to do it. The trial lasted 2 weeks. Neighbor after neighbor testified about Margaret's abuse and corruption. The financial evidence showed years of embezzlement. The medical testimony confirmed that Emma could have died from the perfume poisoning. When the verdict came back, Margaret Wellington was found guilty on all counts. She was sentenced to 15 years in prison with no possibility of parole for 10 years. As she was led away in handcuffs, Margaret looked back at our family one last time. There was no remorse in her eyes, only hatred. This isn't over, she mouthed at us. But it was over. Margaret Wellington would spend the next decade in prison, thinking about what she had done to Emma and all the other children she had hurt. Emma's recovery was slow but steady. Dr. Chin, a child psychologist, worked with her twice a week, helping her process the trauma and develop coping strategies. The neighborhood changed dramatically after Margaret's arrest. The new HOA board implemented strict rules about community discipline and child safety. Officer Davidson was replaced by someone who actually cared about protecting children. Emma gradually started playing outside again, though she was more cautious than before. She made new friends and found joy in simple activities like drawing and reading. The nightmares became less frequent. The thing that helped Emma the most was seeing justice served. She understood that Margaret had been punished for what she had done. Daddy made sure she couldn't hurt anyone else, Emma told Dr. Chin. That makes me feel safer. Jake continued his FBI work, but he also became an advocate for HOA reform. He testified before Congress about the need for federal oversight of community associations. No child should ever experience what Emma went through, he told the Congressional Committee. 6 months after the trial, Emma was thriving. She had joined the school art club and was working on a series of paintings about butterflies. Her teacher said she was one of the most resilient children she had ever taught. Our family was stronger than ever. Jake had taken a desk job so he could be home more often. I had started a support group for parents whose children had been abused by authority figures. Emma still had bad days, especially when she was reminded of what Margaret had done to her. But she also had many more good days, filled with laughter and the simple pleasures of childhood. One evening, as I was tucking Emma into bed, she asked me a question. Mommy, why did Mrs. Wellington want to hurt me so much? I thought carefully about how to answer. Some people have so much anger inside them that they try to hurt others. Mrs. Wellington was one of those people. But that doesn't mean what she did was okay. I know, Emma said. And I know Daddy made sure she can't hurt anyone else. That makes me feel better. You're so brave, I told her. Emma smiled at me with those big brown eyes that still held hope and love. I'm brave because I have you and Daddy to protect me. And because I know that good people are stronger than bad people. Margaret Wellington's case had far-reaching consequences beyond our family. The media attention led to investigations of HOA abuse across the country. Congress passed the Community Association Accountability Act, which created federal oversight of HOA boards. Jake received dozens of calls from other families who had experienced similar abuse. He helped them navigate the legal system and connect with resources for their children. Emma, now 8 years old, had become something of a local hero. She received letters from children across the country who had heard her story and found courage to speak up about their own experiences. I want to help other kids like me, Emma told Dr. Chin. I want them to know that it's not their fault when grown-ups hurt them. Dr. Chin helped Emma create a simple video message for other children who had experienced trauma. Emma explained that healing takes time, that it's okay to feel scared or angry, and that there are always adults who will help protect them. The video went viral, reaching millions of children and families. Emma's message of hope and resilience inspired a movement of children speaking up against abuse. 2 years after the incident, Emma was a different child, still sweet and innocent, but with a strength that came from surviving trauma and seeing justice served. She had become a gifted artist, using her drawings to express emotions too complex for words. Jake had been promoted to Deputy Director of the FBI's Crimes Against Children Unit. His work on HOA reform had made him a nationally recognized expert on community-based abuse. I had started a nonprofit organization called Emma's Garden, a support network for families dealing with child abuse by authority figures. The neighborhood had healed too. The new HOA board was transparent and focused on building community rather than wielding power. Children played freely knowing they were safe. Margaret Wellington was serving her sentence in federal prison, where she was required to participate in anger management classes. She had written Emma a letter of apology, which Dr. Chin helped Emma decide whether to read. "Do you want to know what she said?" I asked Emma. Emma thought for a moment. "Yes, but only if you think it will help me." I read the letter to her. It was a genuine apology, acknowledging the harm Margaret had caused and expressing remorse. She didn't ask for forgiveness, she simply took responsibility. "She sounds different," Emma said. "Like she understands now how much she hurt me." "People can change," I said. "But that doesn't mean we have to forgive them." "I'm not ready to forgive her," Emma said. "But I'm glad she's sorry. And I'm glad she can't hurt anyone else." 3 years after Margaret Wellington forced Emma to drink Perfume, our family gathered in our backyard for Emma's 10th birthday party. The yard was filled with friends, laughter, and the beautiful butterfly garden that Emma had designed and planted herself. Emma had chosen butterflies not just for the party, but as a symbol of transformation and hope. Just as a caterpillar must go through darkness to become a butterfly, Emma had gone through trauma to become stronger. Jake stood beside me watching Emma play with her friends. "She's amazing," he said. "After everything she's been through, she's still so full of joy." "She learned that from you," I said. "You showed her that there are adults who will fight for children, who will protect them." Emma ran up to us, her face glowing with happiness. "Mommy, Daddy, look." She pointed to a monarch butterfly that had landed on her birthday cake. "It's like the ones I drew for my school project, remember?" I did remember. It was the project she had been working on the morning Margaret Wellington decided to destroy her innocence. But Emma had taken that symbol and turned it into something powerful, a symbol of survival and transformation. "Make a wish," Jake said as Emma prepared to blow out her candles. Emma closed her eyes and thought for a moment. Then she blew out all 10 candles in one breath. The butterfly on her cake lifted off and flew away, carrying her wishes into the sky. "What did you wish for?" one of her friends asked. Emma smiled, watching the butterfly disappear. "I wish that all the kids who are scared right now will find someone like my daddy to protect them. And I wish that people like Mrs. Wellington will learn to be kind instead of mean." Later that evening, after the guests had gone home and Emma was asleep, Jake and I sat on the porch swing watching the stars. "Do you think she'll ever fully get over what happened?" I asked. Jake was quiet for a moment. "I don't think she needs to get over it," he said. "What happened changed her, but it also gave her something powerful. The knowledge that she can survive anything, and that there are people who will always fight for her. She wants to be a child psychologist when she grows up," I said. "She told Dr. Chin she wants to help other kids who have been hurt." "She'll be amazing at it," Jake said. "She has something that not all therapists have. She understands what it feels like to be powerless and then to find your power again." As if she had heard us talking, Emma appeared in the doorway in her pajamas. "I had a dream," she said. "But it was a good dream this time." I held out my arms and she climbed onto my lap. "Tell us about it." "I dreamed that I was in a big garden full of butterflies," Emma said. "And Mrs. Wellington was there, but she wasn't mean anymore. She was helping me take care of the butterflies and she said she was sorry." "How did that make you feel?" Jake asked gently. Emma thought for a moment. "It made me feel peaceful. Like maybe someday when I'm older I might be able to forgive her. Not because what she did was okay, but because carrying anger makes my heart heavy." Jake and I exchanged a look over Emma's head. Our daughter's capacity for healing continued to amaze us. "You don't have to forgive her," I said. "Not ever if you don't want to." "I know," Emma said. "But maybe someday I will. Dr. Chin says forgiveness is something you do for yourself, not for the person who hurt you." We sat there together watching the stars and thinking about the journey we had been on. From the nightmare of that day on the playground to this moment of peace and hope, it had been a long road, but we had traveled it together. Emma had taken the worst thing that had ever happened to her and used it to light the way for others. She had turned her pain into purpose, her trauma into triumph, and her scars into stars that guided others through their darkness. The little girl who had been forced to drink perfume had grown into someone who helped others find their strength. The butterfly had emerged from its cocoon, and its wings were strong enough to carry not just herself, but countless others toward the light. And in the end, that was Margaret Wellington's true punishment, not the prison sentence, but the knowledge that she had tried to destroy something beautiful and instead had created something even more beautiful than before. Emma Martinez, the girl who had been poisoned by hate, had become someone who healed the world with love. And that, perhaps, was the most powerful justice of all. Years later, when Emma became a renowned child psychologist and published her best-selling book Butterflies from Ashes, she would dedicate it to every child who had ever faced a monster and found the courage to keep flying.